All right, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from StreetScores, and I know you're looking at the final score and you're thinking, man, the Commanders got whooped 31-17. But I'm telling you right now, outside of those third and fourth stringers, I liked a lot of what I saw, especially from the starters and even some of the second stringers. When we're talking about guys that are actually going to play on Sundays, I really liked what I saw from both the offense and defense and the special teams especially as well. I mean, do we potentially have the best offense in the NFL? We're going to dive into that. Also, Jacory Krosky-Merritt replaced B.Rob and did an excellent job while doing so. B.Rob didn't even come to the game, and JCM made sure you knew why. So we're going to do a full dive into this whole Commanders versus Bengals game. We may even talk about some of the backups that may not even have necessarily a chance of making a team, but I definitely want to talk about the guys that are going to actually impact our winning on Sundays. We're going to go position group by position group like I typically do. Like we do training camp practices, like we do post game, anything, quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, everything. Literally going position group by position group, even including special teams as well. And then we also have like some overall reviews and some other people's opinions that I want to throw in there towards the end as well. But before we get into everything, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all the content. Appreciate y'all for supporting the live stream. Everybody that pulled up to the live stream, all of the love, the likes, the compliments, the donations to the super chat and the cash app. Man, salute to all of y'all, man, that pulled up to that live stream to watch that game with me, man. Y'all are some real ones, especially to make it that far into the game once we got to the fourth stringers. And it was just sloppy football from both teams at that point. Like, it was just guys that clearly weren't making either teams, probably not even their practice squads and stuff like that. It was just junkyard football out there at a certain point. So shouts out to all of y'all that lasted that long. And of course, if you haven't gotten your tickets yet, make sure you go get your tickets for the live Commander show that's going down Sunday, August 24th. And without further ado, let's go and dive into the video right now, man. Let's get it. Adam. All right, so first of all, injuries. I feel like that's most important. We really got to dive into that because I know a lot of y'all noticed that Tre'Davious Amos did not play tonight, which was weird because before the game even started, we already knew guys like Terry McLaurin, because of a contract situation, he didn't even go to the stadium. Along with Brian Robinson, he didn't go to the stadium because he's about to get traded or released. All we know is he's not going to be on his roster by week 1 of the regular season. And then you had guys like Noah Brown, injury, Marcus Mariota, injury, Laramie Tunsil just taking the vet rest day, basically. Same thing with Zach Ertz, Samuel Cosmi, injury, recovering from a torn ACL, Brandon Coleman, injury, Bobby Wagner and Von Miller, vet rest days for both of them, Jordan McGee, injury, Javonte Jean-Baptiste, injury, cornerback Jonathan Jones, injury. We already had that list. Tre'Davious Amos, nowhere near on that list. Nowhere on it. And then suddenly we get to the game and it's like, whoa. First defensive possession, we got Noah Benogany on the field. What's going on? So we already knew Jonathan Jones wasn't going to play tonight. But it's like, how do we have Marshawn Lattimore, Mike Sainristil, and Noah Benogany? Like, what happened? And so Dan Quinn said after the game that Trey Amos had some hamstring tightness this week, so he was kept out of precaution, and he likely would have played if it were a regular season game. Basically, it was like a very minor injury. If this were a regular season, he would have played. If we really needed him out there, he would have played. But because it's preseason, they were like, you don't really need it, and you've been locking people down in training camp, so we should be good to go. Also, Cam Medrano came up limping at some point in the game, and he came out of the game. I don't remember if he ever went in or not, but we're going to see if we get an injury update on that. And then Julian Good-Jones headed to the locker room at a certain point after being the center for Josh Johnson in that game, or Sam Hartman, or maybe both. He was out there for a significant amount of time, but he came out there with the backups, of course, after Tyler Biadasz, your starting center, came out of the game. But of course, like last game, I gave y'all an injury update immediately after the game, just like this one, and it didn't have a lot of names. And then suddenly, in a few days afterwards, once we get to practice, we hear about a lot more different injuries. We hear that Lucas Niang tore his ACL and stuff like that. So who knows? This probably is not the final update. There probably are other injuries. We just haven't heard about it, or nobody's noticed the guy that was missing from the game or something like that. So I will have y'all updated on that once Dan Quinn speaks on it later on this week, probably tomorrow, maybe Wednesday. Who knows? We'll see. Also, now moving on, before we even get into individual position groups, man, this offense was insane, bro. When the starters were out there, even the second stringers, The drive immediately after the starters came out, both of those drives were insane. The Commanders ran just 4 plays, starting from their own 25-yard line, went 75 yards down the field, scored an easy touchdown, and Jaden Daniels didn't even have to attempt a pass. Adam Peters and Dan Quinn, there's no way, even Cliff Kingsbury, there's no way they could have envisioned a better starting drive than that one. That exceeded everybody's expectations. Again, Jaden Daniels didn't even have to attempt a pass. Just to let you know, the exact plays were, shouts out to Skylar Nelson for writing it down. Debo rushed to the right end to the 45-yard line from the 25-yard line. Then Chris Rodriguez ran right to the 15-yard line. Then he ran one more time just to the 14-yard line, only a 1-yard gain. And then Jaden Daniels had a 14-yard touchdown run that we all, of course, saw. I know some people like me were nervous about him not sliding. I was screaming slide, slide before he even got close to the touchdown. But of course, we all celebrated once he got it and stuff like that. And I'm pretty sure he got chewed out for that. And you're even going to hear what he had to say after the game in his press conference about that touchdown and why he didn't slide, all of that type of stuff. It's a really, really funny answer. So make sure you definitely stay tuned for that. And Marshall even said, Cliff is going after that Giants front when we play them. Those guys are going to have to do a lot more than just rush 5 after the quarterback, so it should be a fun matchup. And I agree. I think that Cliff Kingsbury, with how potent that run game looked, and I mean, that looked like the type of run game that could compete for one of the best run games in the entire NFL. You know how hard it is to rush the passer when a team is running the ball that effectively against you? First of all, like, if they're running the ball, why would they ever pass it? And then even when they do pass it, you're so worried about the run that you're a step or two late, a second or two late to actually going after the quarterback, because you have to respect the run at first. Make sure, okay, they're not running the ball. Now I can go after the quarterback. And that extra second or two is a world of a difference as far as receivers getting open and the quarterback getting them the ball. So we can completely neutralize their pass rush, which should be good. I mean, I can admit, you know, Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns, and Dexter Lawrence, and now Abdul Carter added to the mix. I'm expecting that pass rush to be quite potent. But at the same time, if they're not able to rush the passer the way that they want to because they're hesitant, then, I mean, what can they really do? And I think we are the perfect offense to probably stifle that. And also, I just believe, naturally, even without all of that attached to it, I think we're going to have a top 5 pass protecting offensive line in the NFL once we have everybody healthy. We'll see if we are healthy by week 1 against the Giants. But as we saw in this game, even our backup offensive linemen are dominant. We have one of the best offensive lines, especially depth-wise in the NFL, I would argue. And also, just overall, everybody was better, to be honest. Like, offense was better, defense was better, and especially special teams was better. Special teams was actually quite special tonight. Way better tonight. Especially the starters on offense and defense. And again, special teams was just better the entire time. I mean, they gave up a couple of plays, and we're going to talk about it later in the special teams part of this video. But Matt Gay needs to learn how to kick the ball further on kickoffs so that, you know, our guys can even have a chance to get down the field and secure these tackles before somebody's getting to the 45-yard line. But other than that, special teams is pretty good. Special team return and blocking slightly better, but not much better from the last time. But Jalen Lane was able to get off one punt return for a significant amount of yards. He looked explosive. He showed more wiggle than I've seen from a returner for the Commanders in a pretty long time. So I'm really excited about the potential there. And most importantly, kickoff coverage was way better because that was atrocious against the Patriots. Now moving on to the quarterbacks, most notably Jaden Daniels, but we're going to talk about Josh Johnson and Sam Hartman as well. That's the point of these breakdowns. We're not just here to talk about only the good. We're not only here to talk about the starters. We're here to talk about everybody that played a significant amount of snaps and that may affect the team come the regular season. And first of all, with Jaden Daniels, man, the grill. Come on, man. Y'all know me, man. Now, maybe y'all don't know. Maybe you haven't watched enough of my videos, but I have grills myself. Like, I love grills. I mean, maybe I guess it's because I'm Southern. I don't know. I love grills. And so for Jaden Daniels to have a grill, he has immediately skyrocketed into being one of my favorite 2 players on the team. Tre'Nayvion Amos is already in that very small list because he already had a grill before we even drafted him. Now Jaden Daniels went and got a bottom. Man, I'm telling y'all, I'm so excited. And then he was over there on the sideline with the chains dancing and stuff like that. Hey, man, shout out my boy Jaden. But most importantly, not how he looked. How he played today was insane. Well, tonight, it was absolutely ridiculous, man. I mean, look at this picture right here uploaded by Chad Ryan. This screenshot of his touchdown. How did Jaden Daniels turn this right here, this snapshot, into a rushing touchdown? This is why I was screaming, slide, please slide. I didn't think there was any chance he would be able to get through there, but the magician does his magician magic thing again, his magician thing, it's just insane, bro. I don't even know how to word it. Jaden Daniels is absolutely ridiculous, man. And so again, Jaden Daniels is one offensive drive. 19-yard Deebo Samuel run, 40-yard Chris Rodriguez run that if it would have, I'm not going to lie, I love Chris Rodriguez, but if that were JCM, that's a touchdown. But either way, still great run by Chris Rodriguez and great blocking by the offensive line. Then it was a 1-yard run by Chris Rodriguez the very next play, then a 14-yard touchdown run by Jaden Daniels. Them guys went 4 plays, 74-ish, 75 yards, and a touchdown without a single passing attempt by Jaden Daniels. He actually ended the night after that drive. So he finished 0 of 0 on passing attempts, 14 rushing yards, and a rush touchdown. That's it. And Washington, D.C. Sports News said, if I'm Terry McLaurin after seeing that Jaden run, I'm reminded how much potential this team has and call up my agent to sign the dang contract immediately. Worry about the few $1 million difference with great investments. Basically, go get it outside of football. Flip your contract money into getting that difference of money that you want elsewhere and just come back and join the team so we can get going. But Jaden Daniels was asked about that whole touchdown situation and was like, why did you not slide, basically? Here's 50 seconds of pure comedy of Jaden Daniels talking about that. I mean, he even cut the reporter off. Even before the reporter could finish asking the question, he was like, nah, not at all. I didn't think about sliding at all. I wanted to score. Here's the 50-second clip right here, man. This is your quarterback.
Jaden, on your touchdown run, did you have any thought to sliding? Did DQ or anybody else express any preference that next time in the preseason you do so? Or
they took me out after that, so.
I was gonna say, Jaden, but why not have any thought to slide there? It's just if you're on the field, you're playing football. Do you have a certain confidence that you're not going to take a big hit in that spot? Sort of like, what is the thought process that leads you to just do your thing, even though it may be preseason?
I'm playing football. I'm out there. I know everybody puts a big emphasis on preseason, but at the end of the day, it's a game to me, whether it's preseason, regular season, or playoffs. So have the opportunity to score. Other people probably didn't like it, but hey, it is what it is.
That's my boy, man. Not only is he a great player in the field, he has so much personality. And again, now to the fact that he has the grill, man, it's over with. You can't tell me nothing. Jaden Daniels and Tre'Davious Amos, both with grills, man. You can't tell me a thing. Now moving on to the other quarterbacks, Josh Johnson got into the game immediately after Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels literally went on a 4-play, 74-yard touchdown drive, and then Josh Johnson came into the game. And it was even funnier, too, because Jaden Daniels almost immediately ran to the locker room after that and basically went to get out of his shoulder pads, put his chains back on and stuff like that. That was pretty cool. And then Josh Johnson came out there, and his first drive, touchdown. Ended with a JCM rushing touchdown, and his first throw was to Jalen Lane, I believe, and that was a really good throw and a really good route and catch by Jalen Lane. He was open all night, even when he wasn't targeted. But the first drive was pretty good, mostly because of the run offense, like the JCM running with the ball. The offensive line opened up huge holes for the guy with pulling blockers and all kinds of really smart play designs by Cliff Kingsbury to overwhelm one side of the defense with too many blockers and they can't do anything about it. I mean, JCM almost went untouched the entire run for a touchdown. And then the immediate drive after that, Josh Johnson, horrible interception, threw it within the opposing team's 5-yard line. So, I mean, granted, the Bengals didn't have any good field positioning, but I mean, it was just an ugly interception. Like, what were you even looking at? I was starting to think maybe there was miscommunication because there's just no way that interception was that ridiculous. Like that. I mean, I couldn't literally even try to pinpoint who that might have been for. It was horrible. And then Ed Oliver even said, see, this is why I would only keep 2 quarterbacks on the 53-man roster. And he's been saying this for a couple of weeks now. No need to keep Josh Norman nor Hartman on the roster. And honestly, the way that both of those guys played tonight, I mean, I'm not even too far apart from Ed Oliver. I mean, I'm still unless we really, really want to keep an extra roster spot somewhere else on the team, go ahead and keep 3 quarterbacks. But honestly, neither of these guys have earned the right to be the 3rd quarterback on this team. If anything, Josh Johnson is slightly winning the quarterback battle from what we've seen these past 2 games, but neither of them have necessarily been good overall. They've both been pretty bad. Josh Johnson's been slightly less bad, I guess. And honestly, if we get to the point where Jaden Daniels is hurt and Marcus Mariota is hurt, I mean, how many games do we expect to win at that point anyway? So, I mean, it's cool. We'll see. I just don't think that quarterback 3 spot matters as much as people make it seem, especially a lot of Sam Hartman fans out there for whatever reason. I mean, he's cool, and I know Jaden Daniels would be a little heartbroken to see Sam Hartman not make the team, but come on, dog. Come on, man. So Sam Hartman went out there, and his first couple of drives were horrible. I mean, he got better later on. He ended up leading a nice, field goal scoring drive later on, especially one that he got hit in the head. I thought it was a 15-yard penalty. It definitely looked like a hit to the helmet on Sam Hartman. I'm really surprised that that was not called. That was insane to me. But Sam Hartman was horrible when he first got out there. The first couple of drives, he had almost interceptions a couple of times. And then finally on his third drive or something like that, he finally actually threw a real one. There were a couple that should have been intercepted, and then he just kept trying it. Please intercept this pass. Please intercept this pass. And they just weren't doing it. And then eventually somebody did it. Shouts out to Barrett Carter for being the recipient of that interception, man. I mean, the ball was late. It was inaccurate. I mean, it was just such an easy interception. It was ridiculous, bro. And there was only 20 seconds left in the half, so it was come on, bro. Come on. Come on. You can't do that with no time left on the clock and allow a defense to score instead of the offense. That was insane, man. And so John Com tweeted, just like last week, Josh Johnson is the clear winner in the battle for number 3 quarterback right now. But again, Josh Johnson wasn't even that good. It's just that Sam Hartman was just that bad. But then Sam Hartman went out there and had a bounce back drive. He threw some nice passes to Jalen Lane. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt had some really tough runs against the Bengals defense. They ended up scoring 3 points from it, so shouts out to him. Even though on one of those scrambles that he had that a lot of people were excited about, I believe Bleeding Burgundy and Gold was at the game, and he said somebody was open deep down the field for a 60-yard touchdown when Sam Hartman took off and ran. So it kind of looked like a positive play from us on television, but apparently if you were at the game, you would have saw that somebody was open and Sam Hartman didn't see him, and that hurt us because we ended up only kicking a field goal. So he technically cost us 4 points with that scramble, but I'm not going to nitpick him too much. He already had a bad day. And then if Josh Johnson at some point came back in, had some bad plays, had some good plays, but I still feel like neither of these two quarterbacks competing for quarterback 3 looked any good overall. So whoever wins it, I honestly don't care, because we should never be in a situation where we're hoping either of those guys are good, because neither of those guys hopefully ever play. I hope Marcus Mariota never sees the field. Now moving on to running backs. Chris Rodriguez got the start at running back, and I thought that was interesting. Was that something to read into? Because at first, at a certain point in the game, after JCM had that touchdown drive with Josh Johnson, and then we didn't see him for a while. We started to see Jeremy McNichols. We started to see Chris Rodriguez again, and it was did JCM ball out so much that they now have decided he's RB1, and we're just going to rest him for the rest of the game? But then he ended up coming back in. So it's still kind of ominous a little bit as to who's exactly RB1. If I had to bet, it's JCM, though. JCM has a level of speed that nobody else on this team has. But Chris Rodriguez was out there with Jaden Daniels. The one lone drive that Jaden Daniels was out there, Chris Rodriguez was the running back, and he has some good runs out there. But then JCM came in, and he's just at a different level than everybody, bro. When it comes to yards after contact or making something out of nothing where there's more defenders than the offensive line can block, and you just need to get back to the line of scrimmage or maybe gain a yard or two, JCM is the best at that out of anybody on this entire roster in that running back room, even including Austin Eckler. And I like Chris Rodriguez. He can run people over, but it's not to the level of JCM's ability, whether it requires agility or strength or maybe a mix of both, to find a way to get that first down or whatever yards you got to get back to the line of scrimmage, whatever. And I mean, that touchdown run was so beautiful, man. That 27-yard run, first of all, it was a chasm opened wide open by the offensive line. But again, even just the speed to get to that touchdown, Chris Rodriguez probably would have been tackled for only a 12 to 18-yard gain. I'm going to let y'all know that right now. Again, I love Chris Rodriguez. He's not making it. Austin Eckler is not making it to the touchdown. Brian Robinson definitely wouldn't have made it. Demetric Felton is probably the only guy that has enough speed that would have scored that touchdown on that play. But who knows if he would have had the vision to even find the hole in the first place. But then again, it looked like a designed run. It looked like a power run situation where it wasn't even like JCM had to use any vision or anything like that. The play was called pre-snap, run through this hole, and he did just that. And the offensive line did a great job, but then he finished it basically. So I don't know, maybe Demetric Felton could have scored that touchdown, but I trust JCM by far the most in situations like that to turn what could have been an 8 to 15-yard run into a 27-yard touchdown. And Zach Selby even said the rest of the NFL just got introduced to Bill Krosky-Merritt. But it's crazy though, he's been going viral on Twitter lately for all of the hype that Commanders fans have been giving him, and even non-Commanders fans have been talking about him. I'm drafting him in my fantasy leagues, especially after the B.Rob trade stuff came out. Zach Selby said Krosky-Merritt, a 7th-round pick from Arizona, has been one of the more interesting rookies to watch during the Washington Commanders training camp. He's shown burst, vision, and an ability to get yards after the catch, and I would say he's better at yards after contact. Contact, not catch. He's better at yards after contact than any running back on this roster. Because some people are strong, some people are quick, some people are fast. Nobody in this running back room is all three like him. He's become a fan favorite over the last few weeks, and there's a chance he's going to be much more popular around the league. With the ball at the 27-yard line of the Bengals, Krusky Merritt followed a pair of pulling blockers and burst into the Cincinnati Bengals second level. He didn't get touched until he had crossed the goal line, putting the Commanders up 14-7 in the first quarter. Krusky Merritt got a round of congratulations from his teammates on the sideline, and quarterback Jaden Daniels added to the moment by making sure the rookie got his game ball. And that took a while, too. We're going to talk about that very soon, but Linnell Willingham pointed out the fact that I've been slower to crown Bill than others. But you can't deny the flashes. He attacks the line of scrimmage. The vision and burst is real. Again, this is coming from somebody that is a Bill skeptic. Or at least somebody that's like, all right, calm down with all of that hype. He's no way he's that good already as a 7th round pick. That's basically Linnell's point of view on this. And even he's starting to come around like, wait a minute. This guy is different. This is not like a typical running back. This is a very talented guy. This guy has ceiling of like Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson type of stuff. Ceiling. We're not saying he's that now. We're not even saying he's going to be that this year at any point. But he has that type of athleticism and unique and rare burst, agility, change of direction, jump cutting. Like you can't teach that. That's literally you just born with it, God given the talent, and that's all it is to it. And he has that, and we were lucky to get that in the 7th round. But again, I want to really thank the guys that blocked on that play. Because Chris Paul pulled, Josh Connolly helped everybody cave in, Andrew Wiley, I believe, pulled as well. John Bates blocked 2 people on that play, y'all. John Bates blocked 2 people himself. And again, just to go back to the fact that Jaden Daniels made sure that Bill got his ball. Like, he went to the crowd and made sure that the guy that had it gave it back to Jaden so he could give it to Ja'Cory Krusky Merritt. That was his first ever NFL touchdown. Even though it was technically preseason, he still cherishes that a lot. And shouts out to Jaden Daniels for doing that. Like, he personally went to the fans and like, yo, who got it? Please, can I get it? And stuff like that. So I really hope the fan that actually gave it to him, like, get some sort of a reward for that, like a jersey, some merch, maybe some tickets to a game, something. Because that's a lot. Like, it would have been really hard for anybody to come up off that football. But shouts out to that fan that had a good enough heart to allow Ja'Cory Krusky Merritt to keep that football, because the chances that guy, whoever in the woman, guy, kid, whoever who had that football in the stands, the chances that they'll ever get another one, very slim. But hey, man, cool guy, man. I really hope they get something for that. But here's Jaden Daniels even talking about it.
It was his first one, and I know he was super excited about it, and I blame other people that are on the field at that time. They're supposed to grab the ball for him, knowing that was the instance. But I still remember mine last year when Zach and Terry made sure I got my ball, so had to return the favor.
And now going back to Chris Rodriguez, when he came back into the game after JCM had that first drive where he scored his touchdown, he looked really good running the ball. He's slow, but man, he can run some people over and gain some extra yards after contact as well. I like B.Rob, but I mean, Chris Rodriguez and JCM give you an elite yards after contact duo. Chris Rodriguez more so with strength and running people over, kind of like that B.Rob role, and JCM more so a mix of all of that. I mean, you're not tackling him with your arms. You cannot arm tackle this guy. He's going to make you miss an open space with agility, jump cutting, and all of that type of stuff, and decisive movements and all of that. So that's an elite yards after contact duo right there. I'm super excited, especially behind a really good offensive line. So just the Commanders running backs in the first half alone. Chris Rodriguez, 6 rushes, 42 yards. JCM, 2 rushes for 32 yards and a touchdown. Jeremy McNichols had 1 rush for 4 yards. Washington ran for 131 yards on 12 attempts just in the first half. This offense is going to be scary. And then when JCM came back out there in the second half, he was still going crazy, making people miss left and right, and as a runner and even as a receiving threat. He was catching the ball, catching the ball look easy and natural and stuff like that. He probably, between him and Austin Eckler, have the best hands on this entire running back room, but he has this extra level of wiggle and speed and agility to make guys miss that Austin Eckler even doesn't have. So I would argue that he may already be our best receiving back. I'm not going to crown him the best running back on the roster already, because there's a lot of nuance to the running back position overall. Like, how well is his pass protection? I've seen great moments of his vision, but how great, we got to see it in actual real Sunday game action to see if his vision is really like that for real. It's a lot of technical refinement stuff that's like, okay, still. Now, I'm not saying they're red flags at all. I think they're more question marks. And once he's able to check those off, he will definitively be the best running back in our room. Not even close. That's the reason they're already to the point where they feel comfortable with just, even if they can't trade B.Rob, they'll cut him. That's how much they believe in JCM. Because there's no way they believe in Chris Rodriguez, Austin Eckler, and Jeremy McNichols that much. But either way, Josh Taylor brought up a good point. At 9:58 p.m., we were at a certain point in the game that even I was agreeing. I was screaming, please take Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt out the game. These runs behind the third stringers are killing his average, and also they weren't blocking well for him. He was taking a lot of unnecessary contact and punishment to the body. He was trying to make something out of nothing. I mean, there were some plays where the offensive line just let somebody walk right through as soon as the ball was snapped. Most running backs in the NFL, let alone this team, probably get tackled for a 3-yard loss. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt is somehow turning those into 0-yard losses or even like 1 or 2 yard gains. It's insane what he's able to do. Again, there's that stat. Now, out of this entire running back class, that's including Aston Genty, Travion Henderson, Dylan Sampson, Amarian Hampton, Kristen Junkins, whichever running backs y'all preferred over JCM. I'm going to let you know this now. He had the highest run success rate against stack boxes out of everybody in this running back class. So when the defense has more guys than our offense can block, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, out of any running back in this entire class, was able to make those situations, turn them into successful, positive run plays where you at least gain 1 yard more than any other running back in this entire draft class. So imagine what he's going to do with some blocking, bro. And you saw it. I told y'all after that Patriots game, wait till this guy gets some blocking. He got some blocking against the Bengals, immediate touchdown. I mean, I could have told you that if he's ever out there with any starting offensive lineman, not even all of them. I mean, again, Laramie Tunsil, your starting left tackle, Brandon Coleman, your starting left guard, and Samuel Cosme, your starting right guard, did not play in this game for different reasons. You only had 2 starting offensive linemen out there, and they were good enough to block open a chasm big enough for a truck to go through. Of course, JCM is going to take it to the house for a touchdown. Also, DC Sports Experience pointed out the fact that something to note. Bill will have better opportunities behind the starting offensive line. He's got good blocking on that one touchdown, but yards seem harder to get with the rest of his carries. He's got good vision and cut ability, so when that real line is out there, look out. Dangerous. And then Linnell Willingham even said, I know it's the Bengals, but if the Commanders can run the ball effectively like that, they've become virtually unstoppable. And that's what it felt like to me. Those first 2 drives, literally unstoppable. The Bengals had no answer for anything that we did. Again, Jaden Daniels didn't even have to attempt a pass, y'all. What is that? 4 plays, 74-yard touchdown drive? What is that? And so Dan Quinn even spoke on the running back room after the game. He said he liked the decisiveness from the running back room, wanted to get Chris Rodriguez and Bill more touches tonight, and I feel like they accomplished that. Now moving on to the wide receivers. And who said that Debo was fat and slow? Who said? Because he didn't look that way at all on that end around, man. I mean, he got that ball, and shouts out to the blockers on the next level, but I mean, Debo Samuel nearly erased an angle. Like, there was a cornerback that was kind of waiting on him and pursuing him from a certain angle. He almost outran that angle. Then he cut it back and juked him out. He had to be tackled from behind by a linebacker that caught him while he was in a juking motion from the DB. If those linebackers weren't behind him, or if the DB wasn't in front of him, if you take one of those things out of the equation, he's going way further than that. And Ed Oliver even said Debo looks like he's in the best shape of his life. I mean, from that one play, it definitely looked like it. And Pro Football Focus even agreed. Did you know, at the end of the game, Debo Samuel was the highest graded Commanders offensive player with a Pro Football Focus rating of 86.2. Of course, I always urge y'all to take every Pro Football Focus rating with a grain of salt. Don't just believe it wholeheartedly like, yes, that means he was literally our best offensive player all night. But there's something to that. There's at least some type of like logic and thinking of, well, at least at worst, he was one of our best offensive players. He had to be if they felt like he was that good. Dorrance Armstrong was also the highest graded player on defense with a 90.1. So I'm gonna have to really go back and look at the tape there, because I didn't even necessarily notice him much out there except for one inside rush he had where he got immediate pressure. And I think it was even a double team. We're going to talk about it later, but that's crazy. We're going to talk about that later though. But going back to the wide receivers, then Jalen Lane. Immediately, Josh Johnson in at quarterback. The first drive that Josh Johnson's in the game, immediately after Jaden Daniels went on that easy touchdown drive, whatever that was, Jalen Lane is the first target of Josh Johnson the whole game. Immediately, the first pass that Josh Johnson's throwing, he immediately looked for Jalen Lane. That just tells you, that just goes to show that amongst all of the backup wide receivers, Josh Johnson immediately trusted Jalen Lane the most, and he was open. And then he got the ball to him. So when Jalen Lane finally is not out there with Sam Hartman, he's out there with Josh Johnson, suddenly Jalen Lane's just this impactful player getting open, making catches. And then later on, he like completely routed somebody up, and you could just, I mean, you could see the 4.3 speed there. The 4.3, whatever he ran in the combine, 4.33, 4.35, whatever, you can see it. He's not one of those guys that just ran a fast 40 time and then actually isn't that fast. Like Buddy from Texas that I believe, where did he end up going? It's like Green Bay. I can't remember his name right now. He ran a ridiculous 40 time, but he's not that fast on tape at all. Jalen Lane actually is that fast, and he was getting open all night. The route running was crisp, but also the athleticism and the speed and quickness was insane. He had 2 catches for 28 yards in the first half, and he was always open. So now imagine what happens when he's out there with Terry, Debo, and Ertz, and defenses have to worry about them as a priority. And shouts out to Serge the Shooter. He brought up an interesting point. He realized at some point in the middle of the game that Jalen Lane led Virginia Tech last year in receptions with 38. That offense was horrible, but thank goodness. Shouts out to Virginia Tech for holding him back and plummeting his draft stock, because talent-wise, he's a first or second round talent. We're talking about speed, athleticism, route running ability, and also versatility. He's the best punt returner in this entire draft. People said that even before we took him. That was like the thing coming in. At worst, he's going to be the best punt returner out of this entire 2025 draft class. And then on top of that, he's one of the better deep threats in the draft class, and he's like Debo as far as you can give him screens, reverses and stuff, all of the trick gadget plays out of the backfield. I mean, this guy is insane. It's ridiculous that he made it to the 4th round. That's because too many people believe that production matters way too much. You see the potential, just coach him up, get on the right quarterback, call him the right plays, and this guy can be special. I'm telling you right now, man. I mean, and later on in the game, like in the 3rd quarter, again, he had 2 catches for 28 yards in the first half alone. We came back from that in the 3rd quarter, and he completely routed somebody up. I mean, the defender was even grabbing onto his jersey in the middle of the route. The defender knew he was cooked, so he was like, well, I might as well go ahead and pass interfere. Somehow it wasn't called, but Jaden Daniels not only routed the guy up and got open, and the guy was forced to hold him and pass interfere to just not get completely left behind, but then Jalen Lane also made an incredible contested catch while being pass interfered with. So he showed you a little bit of everything, the ability to get open, a little bit of yards after catch, a little bit of return game stuff as well, and the strength and power to be able to make contested catches even while being penalized. I mean, it was literally a penalty. They just didn't call it. It was crazy. That was more of a penalty than the Noah Benogany pass interference they called on our first team defense when Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and those guys were still out there. And it's crazy they didn't call that one. But either way, Mark Bullock brought up a great point. In the middle of the game, he said that Jalen Lane flashed last week with his route running despite just not getting the ball. If you actually look at the all 22 from that last week Patriots game, he was getting open a lot. Sam Hartman was just horrible. He had 2 really nice routes with sharp cuts so far today. And then, interestingly, playing outside rather than in the slot. And I thought that was an important distinction. He was playing on the outside in this game, not in the slot. So is that like Terry, Noah Brown, and Jalen Lane on the outside, Debo Samuel in the slot? Maybe so. And Mark Bullock brought up the fact that he has the speed to be a vertical threat outside. That is your deep threat. Terry McLaurin and Jalen Lane are your 2 deep threats on the team. And that's it. Everybody else is just a receiver that can get open. Then you have the ultimate weapon in Debo Samuel. Jalen Lane and Terry McLaurin are your only true. We can get beyond the safeties on the defense, and Jaden Daniels can throw those elite deep balls that he's really good at throwing. And then Linnell Willingham even said the Commanders can get 17 back on the field. Woof. Seems like Jalen Lane is the real thing as well. He's had a solid camp and made some plays again tonight. Want to see him more on the outside running past people. I love the fact that he was on the outside and not in the slot. Give Debo and Ertz room to work. Five's cupboard isn't bare at all. Jalen Lane is stepping up. And so even outside of the point, like I said, imagine how open Jalen Lane's going to be when he's going against the 4th defense. He's the 4th priority compared to Terry McLaurin, Debo Samuel, Zach Ertz, and maybe even you want to throw the run game out of there, or Jaden Daniels using his legs. He's not going to be a priority by defense, so he's going to be running against like linebackers or like the 3rd corner on the field or whatever, or even a safety. He's going to be routing those guys up and getting open. But then once teams finally realize, hey man, we got to actually show some respect to this Jalen Lane kid, imagine how much that's going to open things up for everybody else. I mean, think about it. Terry McLaurin mostly works on the outside. Debo Samuel and Zach Ertz mostly work on the inside, so let Jalen Lane have the other outside. I feel like that's the ultimate ceiling for this offense, to be unstoppable. And then also, before we move on from the wide receivers, I feel like we gotta mention Mitchell Tinsley. Remember, he was an undrafted free agent here a few years ago, and we let him go as if he wasn't good, and then he went out there and looked like AJ Green mixed with Chad Johnson and TJ Houshmandzadeh against us tonight, man. He was catching everything. He had 2 touchdown catches even before the half, man. It's safe to say he's making their roster. I don't know why he didn't make ours, but and people started to question immediately. Is he better than Luke McCaffrey? And then Oblon even asked on Twitter, he said, feels like I've seen more from Jalen Lane in this game than Luke McCaffrey all last season. And then Chris Russell said, Ben Sinnott, 1 target, no catches. Luke McCaffrey, 0 targets. And then you immediately think, all right, so maybe they just aren't good. But Bobby Gold brings up a good point that having crappy backup quarterbacks is killing the evaluations. It would have been nice if they could have been out there with Jaden Daniels. Because bleeding burgundy and gold, again, I believe he was at the game. He said that he's not even a big Luke McCaffrey fan. He said, nah, bro, Luke was frying his man. I swear I'm not welling. And I get that's DMV lingo, ain't it? Too bad he got a health teacher at quarterback right now. So Bleeding Burgundy and Gold said that Luke McCaffrey was killing the guys covering him. He was constantly open, but the quarterbacks just never saw him and never got him the ball. Actually sounds a little bit familiar to even last year where he had like this high get open rate out of all wide receivers in the NFL at one point. But I mean, Jaden Daniels is not going to look at Luke McCaffrey first in his progressions. But I don't know why Josh Johnson and Sam Hartman weren't when they were in the game. So I don't know. Then moving on to the tight ends. John Bates looked like the best blocking tight end in the NFL. And mind you, this is not just me or Commanders fans saying this. These are national analysts on ESPN and NFL Network recognizing that, yes, John Bates is the best blocking tight end in the NFL, man. He had some really good blocking plays, like a couple of them that come to mind immediately in this preseason game against the Bengals. But the JCM rushing touchdown, he was blocking 2 guys at the same time. Like, literally, it was him on the edge versus a linebacker and a DB blocking both of them, and JCM ran past that to go untouched. Come on, bro. Like, what else is there even to say? And Dan Quinn even talked about Deebo Samuel's run and John Bates' blocking to start his press conference. Like, immediately, press conference starts. Those were the first 2 players he thought of. Deebo Samuel. I mean, I don't feel like it's a coincidence that he had the highest Pro Football Focus grade out of all of our offensive players, and John Bates definitely deserved to be the first guy mentioned. I feel like that's automatic. Now, moving on to the offensive line, they looked elite, bro. Not just good, elite. And mind you, without your starting left tackle in Laramie Tunsil, your starting left guard in Brandon Coleman, nor your starting right guard in Samuel Cosme, bro. That was insane. Now, granted, that was the Bengals starting defensive line, but that didn't include Trey Hendrickson, and also the Bengals defensive line just isn't very good. Shamar Stewart is, but he's still a raw rookie that's still figuring things out, and he's had a really good offseason up to the point that now, but I mean, I forgot he was in the game if he ever even was. Like, come on, bro. We made their defensive line look horrible. And again, even though it was the Bengals defensive line specifically, it was still a defensive starting defensive line minus Trey Hendrickson holding out. So for us to look like that was insane. I mean, we had 106 rushing yards in less than 10 minutes of actual game action, bro. Golly. And really outside of one Josh Connolly play where he was right tackle, I think it was the actual Josh Johnson interception. If you look on that play, Josh Connolly is getting bull rushed really far back. That was the only play that I noticed Josh Connolly have a bad play. Other than that, I feel like he was near perfect in pass protection every time I noticed him. And even some run blocking I saw was really good. Chris Paul, when he was out there, he was hooping. I think he was out there with the starting offensive line with Jaden Daniels. He was blocking his tail off, bro. And that's a guy that, like, run game wise, no questions. He's a guy that can open up a wide open hole for you to run the ball through. The only questions with him is that can he handle starting defensive lineman level pass rushes? That's the only concern. But I think he definitely did enough to make the team tonight, bro. Also, I thought it was interesting that Julian Good-Jones and Michael Dieter kind of switched roles. Like, Julian Good-Jones is typically a guard, and Michael Dieter is typically a center. But they kind of switched roles tonight, so looked like a little bit of experimentation going on with Cliff Kingsbury in a preseason game. Like, let's just see what happens. And we saw Jones overthrow a snap over Josh Johnson's head, which led to like an 8-yard loss because Josh Johnson just had to basically fall on the ball to prevent a turnover. But Linnell Willingham even pointed up the fact that, yes, rough play there by Connolly at some point, gave up inside pressure, got pushed into the lap of Johnson, which led to the interception, even though I think even outside of that was just a terrible throw by Josh Johnson. I mean, Josh Connolly got pushed back, but it wasn't to the point that it caused Josh Johnson an interception. It just happened to be the same play. But Linnell said that watching him for the rest of the game, he continued to improve. He definitely bounced back, and he's going to only continue to get better. Now, moving on to the defensive side of the ball, Zach Selby pointed out the fact that, man, the Bengals were really using their hard counts tonight, and that was really making me mad. I mean, first, last game we had Mike Vrabel, the head coach of the Patriots, out here challenging plays, let alone 2 plays on the same drive. Like, bro, it's preseason, chill. And then you got the Bengals out here going for it on basically every 4th down that was within like 7 yards, and they were using hard counts, and it worked against us. Now, granted, I'm happy they did because, okay, this is preseason. I know we're practicing, but that can get us ready for real game situations. So like Frankie Louvu, that hard count that you fell for, we can't have that in actual real regular season games. So that was a nice teaching moment for him. So I'm happy the Bengals did it. But I was still looking at him like, bruh, why is it that serious? It's preseason, bruh, chill. I still don't even know why Joe Burrow was out there that long. They sat Jamar Chase. We sat a lot of our defensive starters, and they just had Joe Burrow out there going against backups with backups, and he was getting slaughtered by his offensive line. Our defensive line was whooping up on him and constantly getting pressure on him, hitting him. I'm surprised they kept throwing him out there for as long as they did. But Dan Quinn said after the game that the intensity and tackling was way better compared to the Patriots game, but it's still a lot of work to do, and I completely agree 100% with that. Tackling way better, but still not perfect. Still have areas to improve. Now, defensive line-wise, man, I mean, that Dorrance Armstrong sack, it was like a 3rd and 12. Shouts out to the coverage, though. I have to admit, some of the pressures and quarterback hits and sacks we got on Joe Burrow tonight were definitely because our secondary just had really good coverage. There was literally nowhere for Joe Burrow to throw the ball. So even without Tre'Davious Amos, our coverage was pretty solid until we started to bring out guys like Bobby Price and all of those, Carlin Vigors, the super duper backups, the 4th stringers that are not even likely to make this team. Until then, we had good enough coverage to where we were getting coverage sacks. But shouts out to Dorrance Armstrong, because that 3rd and 12, while Joe Burrow was running for his life and we had 3 defensive linemen chasing him around. I mean, you could almost cue the music, bro. I mean, it literally looked like that type of play, especially if you sped it up. But shouts out to Dorrance Armstrong for that one. Then Deatrich Wise had a couple of penalties in the game, but he looked really good rushing the passer and setting the edge, bro. I'm really excited about him, being a part of our starting edge rusher rotation. Also, speaking of starting edge rusher rotation, I saw Cleveland Farrell out there well into the 4th quarter. That shows you what they feel about him. He's more than likely not making the team, even though he was supposed to be our projected starter last year between the health, and now that you bring in Deatrich Wise, Dorrance Armstrong's only getting better. You bring in Von Miller and Jacob Martin. I don't think it's likely. And then Javon Kinlaw, who you brought in, is going to play some edge rusher as well. I don't think Cleveland Farrell's making the roster. But man, Deatrich Wise had a dominant pass rush that led to a Joe Burrow sack, but it ended up being called a horse collar, so the play technically never counted. But man, that was an impressive play by him. And then Nicky Giovanni even pointed out at a certain point in the game that Dorrance Armstrong has had a really good camp in preseason. So again, there were probably some plays that he had that I didn't necessarily notice what was going on. Then Cleveland Farrell had a moment where he got blindside blocked and the refs didn't call it, but whatever. And then later on in the game, he almost forced another fumble sack that led to a touchdown, but it was reviewed and changed to incomplete. But man, Cleveland Farrell tried. He tried. He made a couple of plays out there with the backups going against backups. And then Jacob Martin, oh my Lord, what he did to that Browning tackle, bro. Oh my Lord. I mean, he whooped him. That was like the best pass rush rep I saw from anybody from either team all night. I mean, he whooped that guy in less than a second and was immediately running after Joe Burrow. No, the backup quarterback, whoever was in at the time. It was insane. Jacob Martin showed me enough in this game tonight that he needs to make this team even after we sign Von Miller. I thought signing Von Miller was the writing on the wall for Jacob Martin. We don't need 2 purely situational pass rushes that you don't necessarily want to play on 1st and 2nd down. But Jacob Martin showed enough to me tonight that you got to keep him on the roster. Otherwise, somebody's definitely going to scoop him up off your practice squad. And he may even play significant snaps for that team and go out there and get a good amount of sacks. And then, just to let you know, Jacob Martin, who wears number 55, had 4 quarterback pressures, 3 hurries, a quarterback hit, and half a sack. Come on, bro. Just chill, man. Just absolutely chill. He was killing people. Actually, my fault. That was Jackson Kirkland, who he had that insane pass rush rep against and immediately got to the quarterback. It's insane that the quarterback was able to get the ball out of his hands so quickly, but that was only because he did like a 3, maybe almost a 5-step drop, and he was able to get the ball out of his hands. I mean, he didn't have no time to get rid of that ball, and he still got it out in time, but Jacob Martin beat somebody as quickly as you could. That looked like prime Von Miller on that one play. I'm not saying he's Von Miller, but on that one play, he definitely looked like it. Again, granted, it was against backups, but godly, man. And then Dorrance Armstrong showed you that he can kind of play some interior defensive line at times, lining up right outside the guard. And I'm telling you right now, he's going to ball in that role. Louis T even brought that up a couple of times in our Commanders Kings live stream, that whenever he's played like defensive tackle on a rep, he's balled out and gotten immediate pressure on guys. And he did that at one point, bro. It was one point where he got within so quickly, he beat a guard and a tackle. And on the outside shoulder of the guard, the inside shoulder of the tackle, he went right through them and had an immediate pressure to the quarterback. I would say that was the 2nd best pass rush I saw all night. Honestly, because he was double teamed, that may even honestly be more impressive than Jacob Martin's. And again, just to remind you, he ended up being the highest graded defensive player for the team, really the highest graded player out of anybody with a 90.1 by Pro Football Focus by the end of the game. And then Sleeper Commanders pointed out the fact that the D-line was constantly getting home and creating problems for Cincinnati. Would love to see them string some stops together, though. But boy, they was getting some pressures, bro. And honestly, the run game, the run stopping looked better than it did at any point last year. So I'm excited about that. And we didn't have Bobby Wagner out there. And also, Dan Quinn spoke on the D-line after the game. He said he really excited about the D-line play tonight. Early on, they were buzzing. The coach wants to look at the tape of the Wise horse collar call, though. I agree. I'm looking at that like, I don't know if that was a horse collar, but it is what it is. I love that play by Dietrich Wise. I'm congratulating them, not downplaying that one. Now moving on to the linebackers. I mean, of course, Frankie Louvu had that really, really funny offsides where they did like 3 hard counts. Joe Burrow, first defensive drive of the game, first drive of the entire game. Immediately, like soon after kickoff, and Joe Burrow did like 3 hard counts. He was like, how's that? Like 3 different times. And then for some reason, Frankie Louvu fell for like the 3rd one. It was like a 4th and 3. Who knows if they were actually going to go for it for real or not, but that was crazy. But I just thought that was funny because he went through so violently. And of course, it reminded us of the NFC Championship game with him trying to beat that tush push. I thought that was hilarious. Also, Disco pointed out the fact, I think he was at the game, he noticed that Kane Madrano was making defensive play calls at some point in that game. Now, again, granted, he ended up getting hurt at some point in the game. I hope it's nothing serious, but the fact that they trusted him with Bobby Wagner out on the field, when Kane Madrano was out there, he was like the Bobby Wagner in the defense, getting everybody where they needed to be. I thought that was really interesting. Also, Josh Taylor brought up an interesting point too. I agree. Cam Arnold was out there making plays. He said Cam Arnold has popped too. I really liked him at BC. He's being very vocal on the field, sticking his nose in on some plays. And hey, man, that Alaho Akaho kid or whatever his name is, the linebacker, the undrafted guy from UCLA, that was a teammate with Kane Madrano just last year in college together. Hey, man, that guy looked like something too. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and look up his name right now so I don't disrespect him and so that y'all don't have to look it up. Yeah, Ale Cajo. Hey, man, he flashed a little bit. We may have some depth to this linebacker room. Now, moving on to the corners. Of course, Noah Benogany had that defensive pass interference that was a 26-yard penalty. Felt like it was a little tic-tacky, but I honestly couldn't see why that penalty was called. I'm not really mad at that call. It was kind of, I would say it was 45-55, more so 55 towards it being a defensive pass interference. But if they didn't call it, I wouldn't have been like surprised. And then they had the nerve to not call some of the other stuff later. So I don't know what the refs were on. I think the refs were drunk today. But that was interesting that Noah Benogany was even out there with the starters instead of Trenavian Amos. And that kind of made everybody happy. Like, yeah, well, at least when we get to the regular season, we shouldn't have to worry about that. But I still like Noah Benogany. He's not that bad. But, man, thank goodness Trenavian Amos, Marshawn Lattimore, and Mike Sanford still are your starters. And again, I just didn't like the fact that Trenavian Amos didn't play. Now, granted, they're being extra precautious with some hamstring tightness stuff, but I would have loved to have seen Trenavian Amos go against Jamar Chase. This would have been the best opportunity to play him, I felt like. I would have had him on Jamar Chase the entire time, just following him around. Please, that would have been the best work he could have gotten before we even go into this regular season game for him to prepare to have to go against some elite neighbors week 1. But also, Bobby Price just got picked on all day. Now, granted, some of those are just great plays to where it's really not much you can do as a corner. And then some other ones just bad. So Bobby Price, not a good day for you. I'm sorry. Colin Vickers had a terrible second half last preseason game. And then Bobby Price tried to outdo him, but, you know, try to be equally as bad this entire game. So I kind of felt bad for him, but I got to call it as I see it. Bobby Price did not have a good game. Then, moving on to the safeties. Hey, that first defensive drive, Quan Martin looked like a Pro Bowler. He looked like the best player on our entire defense, bro. First of all, he had that elite open field tackle where he had to get off a block to do it. I mean, that gain, instead of it being like a 3-4 yard gain that I think Quan Martin stopped it for, somewhere around there, if he didn't make that tackle, it's probably going for 30, 40 or more. It was like an insane play that really changed the entire like possession. That was insane, bro. And then on 3rd and goal, that stop he had where they literally designed a rub route, a crossing route for Quan Martin, it basically to be impossible for him to get there before the guy's able to catch the ball and get a touchdown. He still somehow scraped over and got to the guy and upheld a guy that's way bigger and heavier and stronger than him before he got into the end zone. So Quan Martin balled, bro. Balled. They ended up scoring the play after that, but he balled the very few moments that he was in the game. He looks like he's destined to be a Pro Bowler. I'm telling you right now, at safety, one of the most underrated and underappreciated guys on this entire team. Mind you, Last year, he played the majority of last season, including that Lions playoffs game, with 2 separated shoulders. Now, both of his shoulders are perfectly healthy. He's about to be dangerous. Also, I noticed my dog Tyler Owens out there, and similar to the Patriots game, he had some flashes, but he also had a couple of downs. You know what I'm saying? He was out there with the backups, going against the backups, but he made a couple of great tackles in the run game. Like, towards the end of the second quarter, whatever drive that was, I mean, he was sticking his nose in that run game. Like, we're not talking about 18 yards down the field. We're talking about near the line of scrimmage, at most 2-3 yards down past the line of scrimmage, out there being the one making the tackles, like a true Mike linebacker type of stuff from the safety position. But then again, he also made a couple of plays where, you know, he got beat. Like one coverage play, he was kind of a little late for his zone responsibility, but at the same time, he's like here, like standing right here. There's a guy running like a route to where he goes up like this, and then he goes away from Tyler Owens. So it's kind of like, I mean, how was he supposed to get there in time? And I feel like he reacted fairly well. You would hope that he can somehow read that even quicker than that. But I wouldn't consider that like a really bad play, but something we can definitely improve on for him. And then Robert McDaniel, hey man, I'm looking at him to potentially make this practice squad at least. That's the HBCU guy that I've really been rooting for, because if you come from an HBCU, I'm automatically rooting for you to make it into the NFL, because they're so underappreciated. They're so undervalued. They don't get as much media attention as they deserve. They don't be getting invited to the combines and stuff like that. So anytime I can hype up an HBCU player, best believe I will. I don't know about anybody else. I will. And so for him to go out there and prove me right in that preseason game, we had a couple of good plays. Most notably, man, he had an insane rush. I would say probably the third best pass rush behind Jacob. I would say Dorrance Armstrong 1, Jacob Martin 2, and then he had a pass rush that was so ridiculous that the running back was literally forced to wrestle him down on the ground by like the neck or the shoulder. It was like clearly a hole, but the running back was like, man, I know this is about to be an obvious penalty, but anything other than letting my quarterback get killed, bro. So shouts out to him for that. And then he also had some decent coverage in different plays as well. And then after the game, Dan Quinn said that Jeremy Reeves has had an excellent camp in preseason. So I'm letting y'all know right now, if you're reading the tea leaves, reading in between the lines, for the past couple of weeks, we've heard from guys like John Comm, Dan Quinn himself, Joe Witt Jr. This Jeremy Reeves guy is going to play on Sundays as a safety, not only just a special teamer. Speaking of special teams look way better tonight. Way better. I mean, as long as Matt Gay just learns how to kick the ball a normal distance, the coverage was great. You know what I'm saying? His problem was he was just under kicking it. He was kicking it to like the 10, 15 yard line at times. Like, come on, bro, kick that into the end zone or at least within the 5, so our special teams coverage at least has the time and the chance to get down there and actually make a tackle. That's why they had that return to the 45-yard line opening kickoff of the game, because Matt Gay completely hit it with a noodle leg for whatever reason. But Jalen Lane looked really good returning punts, man. You could tell he's already your starting punt returner going into the season. Shouts out to the Commanders for giving Casimir Allen as many opportunities as possible in punt returns to see if he can maybe fight his way onto the roster as like a backup returner. But Jalen Lane is your starting punt returner, no questions asked, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He's already showing flashes that he may be the best returner I've seen in a burgundy and gold uniform in a very long time, like many years. And did anybody else also see that bird that was on the field during our kick return after the Bengals made it 14-14? I don't know if any of y'all saw that, but I believe that was like Casimir Allen. It kind of had to like avoid the bird. I feel like some people missed that. It was crazy. Also, Matt Gay hit his only 27-yard field goal attempt. That was his only field goal attempt. It was for 27 yards. He hit both of his PATs, so shouts out to him. We can be sure that he's comfortable with anything 48 yards or lower. It was supposed to be 49, but he missed that 49er last week against the Patriots. But remember, all last regular season, he never missed a kick anything 49 or less, including PATs. But then he went out there and missed that 49er right on that line where he's capable in that Patriots preseason game. So that's why I'm kind of joking and saying anything 48 or less, he's good to go. You know what I'm saying? We just got to lower it by 1 point. We'll be all right. But again, even JP Finley was complaining about it at 10:05 p.m., like way after I was even complaining about it too. He said these kickoffs got to be deeper. So Matt Gay, we got to work on that one for sure. Also, Ben Standig said the commander staff is certainly giving Kaz Allen every opportunity to make the roster as a return specialist. I completely agree. I felt like that was an interesting point to bring up. Then also, before we get up out of here, We have 2 overall reviews from a couple of reporters. Grant Paulson said, Commanders game balls for tonight's game for the Bengals goes to Chris Rodriguez, 6 attempts, 62 yards. That's insane. JCM, 11 attempts, 42 yards, 27-yard touchdown. But again, by the time he was out there, the blocking was atrocious. Jalen Lane, 3 catches, 42 yards, all really impactful play. I think all 3 catches were first downs. And then Martin and Harris, nice goal line plays. Oh yeah, Will Harris, I almost forgot. He had that one forced incompletion that would have been an easy touchdown if he didn't find a way to get his hand in there. And I think it was like man coverage too. Like that, the degree of difficulty on that Will Harris play was insane for both him and Quan Martin. I think we're set at safety. I think this preseason game made me very optimistic that this duo between Quan Martin and Will Harris, we're good to go. I think we're just fine, man. Especially with the pass rush we're going to have in front of them. I think we'll be in the corners. Come on now. I think we'll be just fine. Then Sleeper Commander said early post-game thoughts. Starters look great. I agree. Bill is looking like our new running back 1. I agree. Jalen Lane looks promising. Agree. Debo is not fat. Funny, but I agree. Sam Hartman can look handsome on the practice squad. I don't even know why I read that one. Hey, man, pause, bro. But either way, I'm not even sure. I mean, I guess he'll make it to the practice squad, but man, neither of those 2 backup third-string quarterbacks look good at all. 3rd or 4th, whatever. And then also the defense needs to limit unforced errors because outside of penalties, the defense looked really good. And then also, shouts out to Logan Paulson. My fault. I had 3 reviews to give you. But this one's more so a great point. He said, in a game like this, it's easy to lose sight of how good the first quarter was. The first team offense looked very sharp, and Cliff Kingsbury did a great job with the game plan early. And then number 2, the energy and communication on the started defense feels different than last year. So you should be very encouraged by the offense still looking great. And if anything, they're even better than they were last year. And the defense, most importantly, looks way better than it did last year. This team looks like it's ready to basically go on a Super Bowl run. I'm telling you right now. Yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know if you feel about everything discussed video. Please still on that like button, still on the subscription button, still on the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Let me know how you feel about everything from this game because I can't see everything. You know what I'm saying? I got to go back and look at the all 22 to really get a better idea of how certain individuals actually were in the game. Some guys just popped on the screen. Some guys didn't necessarily. So let me know if you noticed anything from that game that I didn't point out in this game because I probably didn't see it. So you'll be helping me. You'll be helping the community. I want this to really the comment section to be like a forum of all of the analysis from that game. I can't see everything. I can't be everywhere. So please let me know things that you may have seen or things that you analyzed or broke down, please, because you're going to be helping me learn more about what happened in that game. So I really urge y'all, please. And also make sure you leave a like on the way out. And if you made it this far in the video, salute to you for that alone. Also, shouts out to all of y'all that were there in the live stream. Of course, I will be live streaming all of our regular season and postseason games as well. So stay tuned for that. Really appreciate y'all. Leave a like on the way out. I'm out.